Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani kleklas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Mberi and Aina Raiza Koyo. How's it, Aina?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Awesome. In today's broadcast, UK estimate cost of deporting each asylum seeker to Rwanda will be £169,000. Kenya launches a digital register for sex offenders and stability assured, but still lack of basic services and food for population. This is according to a minister. Now you can follow all our programs on our website called One Up 2, also on DSTV channel 285 as well as GoTV 25 in Namibia. After the break, we return with our top stories. Stay with us.
Newsprint Namibia is a web offset printing operation that specializes in the printing of newspapers and commercial inserts. We are the leaders in our industry with the highest quality print work and the shortest turnaround time from computer to print and delivery anywhere in the country daily. Newsprint was established mainly as a newspaper print company, but had to diversify its business to do commercial printing as required in the market. We print commercial inserts previously printed in South Africa in the shortest possible time. We, as an organization, also started printing workbooks for our education system and will also print textbooks for the Namibian market. For more information, please contact print@newsprint.com.
In our top stories this morning, UK estimate cost of deporting each asylum seeker to Rwanda will be £169. Britain's plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda will cost £169,000 per person, according to the first detailed government assessment of the high-stake promise to tackle record numbers of people arriving in small boats. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak Conservative government wants to send thousands of migrants more than 6,400 kilometers away to Rwanda as part of a deal with the Central African country agreed upon last year. The government sees the plan as central to deterring asylum seekers arriving in small boats from France. Sunak has made this one of his 5 priorities amid pressure from some of his own conservative lawmakers and the public to resolve the issue, with his party behind, with the main opposition Labour Party in opinion polls ahead of the national elections due next year.
Now, Kenya has launched an online register with records of all convicted sexual offenders, which is expected to enhance justice for victims. Chief Justice Martha Koome said the automation of the database will ensure easy access to information on convicted sex offenders, facilitating expedited justice. She said this will help justice authorities to monitor and supervise sexual offenders after they are released from prison. The public can also, upon request, get access to the database. The Chief Justice said this will enable them to take precautionary measures to protect themselves and their children. We are in effect sending a clear message that our society will not tolerate those who prey upon the vulnerable.
In Mozambique, stability is assured, but still lack of basic services and food for the population. This is according to a minister. Mozambican Defense Minister Cristóvão Chume said on Monday at the end of a visit to Cabo Delgado that stability was assured, but there is a lack of basic services and humanitarian support to feed the population. The immediate objective of the operation was to free the zones and create basic conditions for the return of the population. This had already happened, but it is still not the end yet, Chume said when summarizing the visit 2 years after the arrival of foreign troops to support Mozambique in combating the armed insurgency in the province. In some In some areas, we are at 60% of the population return. In Palma, almost 80%, but we still have great challenges. Chume underlined in Pemba after traveling with a delegation of journalists through Afungu, Moti, Mosimbo, Dapria, and Palma.
Now, Ugandan human rights defender Maxwell Atuhura, 5 French and Ugandan NGOs, alongside 26 civilians, have launched a new legal action in France on Tuesday against oil giant Total Energies for the alleged damage caused by its controversial oil mega projects in Uganda. The accusers seek compensation from the multinational French corporation as the Tilega oil drilling project and the East African crude oil pipeline project are what they consider a direct cause of human rights violations. The EACOP is a 1,500-kilometer heated pipeline to the Tanzanian coast, crossing several protected natural areas. Now, this time it is an action for compensation because the human rights violations caused by its Tilega and ECOP projects, which the first legal action launched in 2019 aimed to prevent, have now been released due to the lack of a rapid judicial decision on the heart of the matter.
In our next story, battle for key police base kills at least 14 civilians in Sudan. Sudan's army on Monday faced a multi-front challenge after losing Khartoum's main police base to paramilitaries in a battle that killed at least 14 civilians, while rebels attacked troops near Ethiopia. The paramilitary Rapid Support Forces are fighting Sudan's regular army since mid-April announced late on Sunday a victory in a battle for the police HQ of the Central Reserve Police. Central Reserve are the paramilitary police unit sanctioned last year by Washington for serious human rights abuses related to its use of excessive force against the earlier pro-democracy protests. The headquarters in Sudan is under our complete control, and we have seized a large number of vehicles, arms, and munitions, the RSF said in a statement.
That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, Ari Hohat comes through to illuminate us on stories in South Africa, including the BRICS Summit. Stay with us.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toivon Jabela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. The Agenda aims to reach high-end news consumers seeking informed understanding of national issues. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and the Namibia Media Holdings Facebook platform. The Agenda focuses on interviews where we put the nation in the hot seat. Contact Agenda at synergy.com.na to get your product and service in the hot seat. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
Right now, we're going to cross over to Ari Hohat as he brings us the latest news in South Africa, including the BRICS conference and the flood warnings in Cape Town.
Yes, a very good morning, everyone. And it's South African news, and trending at the moment still is the news from Russia. It's trending in South Africa because the BRICS conference is going to be in South Africa, in Johannesburg, in August. And Russia also attending. And there's been a few months that's been a discussion if President Putin should attend the BRICS conference. And that is because there's a warrant for arrest for him from the International Criminal Court for war crimes. But it's a difficult situation for South Africa. South Africa's stance at the moment seems to be that they would welcome President Putin and not arrest him. But what's trending in the news at the moment is the challenges that President Putin do have in his own country. That is because of the Wagner Group, and there was attempts for a coup. So probably that he will decide to stay in his country, or need to stay in his country, because of all the things happening around him. That might assist South Africa because they got a legal opinion, and the legal opinion seemed to be that they should arrest President Putin, which would be a difficult situation for South Africa, and understandably so. But just briefly, it is the BRICS conference in August. It is besides Russia, it's also Brazil and also China and India that will be present at the BRICS conference. The BRICS conference started, the group started in 2009. South Africa became a member in 2010. More South African news is a bit concerning, related to farming industry, and there's a risk of bird flu in the northern province of South Africa in the Mpumalanga area, and there's been an outbreak of in 3 or 2 farms, and it's a third outbreak in a short time, and it's confirmed that the third outbreak of bird flu is the avian flu, as they call it, and it is also the usually infectious one. They call it the H7 strain. So it's been in 2 farms in Mpumalanga, and unfortunately 9,500 poultry died, and there's a preventative action taken in a 3-kilometer radius around those 2 farms. So that is a concern for South African health for the farming industry at the moment, but it is being detained at the moment. Going on to some food inflation news, and it is South Africa's economy that is under huge pressure. That is because of load shedding, obviously, and unemployment. There's lots of challenges on Southern African economy at the moment. So the food inflation for the month of May is very high. It's 11.8%, and it's not good compared to the rest of the world. In the same also for the month of May. United States, for instance, is 6.7%. Brazil, which is more comparable to South Africa, is 5.5%. And then closer to home, Kenya is 10.2%. So South Africa do battle with load shedding at the moment, and it is a challenge with the food inflation. Hopefully the economy will make a turn in the second quarter. To close off the South African news, it is weather warnings in Cape Town, and as I'm speaking, it's raining in Cape Town where I am, and there's more cold fronts coming into the Cape. So the disaster management of the Western Cape warned all people in the Western Cape to just take care. There's a possibility for flooding, for flash floods again, and there was quite recently there were floods. So the challenge in the Western Cape is that it rains in the mountains, and then there's flash floods in the lower areas. So also it is informal settlements that's under high pressure, and obviously the infrastructure not good in informal settlements. And there's also a warning of possible hail, which is not good for Cape Town, the Cape Town region and the farming regions. Not often that you get hail in Cape Town, but that seems to be a possibility in the new cold fronts. Lots of international, or lots of South African news that's happening, lots happening in South Africa, and that is the South African news. And until we talk again next week, Wednesday, it's a goodbye from South Africa.
We certainly hope that that flood can be mitigated sooner rather than later, or at least Cape Town is prepared for it. So usually how it happens, I know something happens in Cape Town, Windhoek is like a couple of days away. Yeah. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that as you also have a look at the weather predictions.
In our economic news this morning, Mozambique is set to abolish more rail borders. Mozambique will in the next few days sign agreements for the removal of railway borders with Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia and Botswana, making it possible for trains to cross national boundaries without changing locomotives and crews. The announcement was made by the Minister of Transport and Communication, Mateus Magala, at the fourth annual private sector conference, which took place last week in the capital, Maputo. Speaking on a panel of the role of transport and logistic infrastructure in boosting industrialization in Mozambique, Magala noted that the signing of these agreements is part of the implementation of Measure 11 of the Economic Acceleration Package, which aims to facilitate the flow of people and goods to and from Mozambique.
The Monetary Policy Committee of Kenya's central bank was forced to hold an off-cycle meeting after inflation rose unexpectedly in May, the governor of the bank, Kamau Tuge, said on Tuesday. Policymakers raised the benchmark lending rate by 100 basis points to 10.50%, the highest level since 2016, during their meeting on Monday, which was held a month early. Year-on-year inflation rose to 8% last month from 7.9% in the previous month, defying expectations of a decline and staying outside the government's preferred range of 2.5% to 7.5%. But the rate is likely to start falling in August after a bump in July that will be driven by higher taxes on fuel, Tuge said. The yields on government securities, which have surged to more than 14% in recent auctions, are expected to stabilize in the course of the financial year starting next month, he said. He attributed the forecast to projected higher revenue collection, government expenditure cuts, and lower planned borrowing. Stay with us as we have a look at the economic indicators.
Newsprint Namibia is a web offset printing operation that specializes in the printing of newspapers and commercial inserts. We are the leaders in our industry, with the highest quality print work and the shortest turnaround time from computer to print and delivery anywhere in the country daily. Newsprint was established mainly as a newspaper print company, but had to diversify its business to do commercial printing as required in the market. We print commercial inserts previously printed in South Africa in the shortest possible time. We, as an organization, also started printing workbooks for our education system and will also print textbooks for the Namibian market. For more information, please contact print@newsprint.com.
So there's plenty happening in the sporting world. In the English Premier League, we are all inundated with headline after headline of this and that possible transfer. And we'll figure out what the latest news from Manchester City is, as well as the latest from the tennising world and more from Ari Hochad.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news first. It's news from Wimbledon. Wimbledon starting on the 3rd of July. And news from the women's side of the draw is that Elena Rybakina, she's a defending champion, is injury doubt to start on the 3rd of July. She withdrew from the Eastbourne International Tournament, and she's battling with a virus that she picked up, and the virus she picked up a few months ago. And because of the virus, it also didn't play in the French Open. And it is Elena Rybakina that did play in the tournament the last weekend, the German Open, but she lost in the round of 16. So Elena Rybakina, she played in the final of Australian Open as well, one of the favourites to do well at Wimbledon this year. On the men's side of the draw, it's also an injury concern for Nick Kyrgios of Australia. He's the finalist from 2022 when he lost to Novak Djokovic in the final, and he also have trouble with his knee. He had a knee surgery in January, and he played one tournament. He lost in the first round 2-3 weeks ago, but again withdrew from the Queen's tournament, and so he's also in doubt to play in the Wimbledon starting on the 3rd of July. Moving on to soccer news, and it's still transfer news making headlines, and it is Declan Rice of West Ham making the biggest headlines at the moment. Two big clubs trying to get his signature, and he's up for sale. West Ham United wants to sell him for £100 million, and there's been a few offers from Manchester City and also from Arsenal, both the teams trying to get the signature of Declan Rice. Declan Rice, 24 years old, he's playing in the midfield for England, and it is Manchester City that made an offer for £90 million. That's a little bit short of the £100 million West Ham want, and they also very keen to get a midfielder in because Ilkay Gundogan, he is gone. He plays now for Barcelona, so they need to strengthen the midfield. That is Manchester City. Also Arsenal, they're making their third attempt, a third bid they're going to make to West Ham, and it is Declan Rice that's also the captain of West Ham, and there's indication that if he plays for Arsenal, he might also be the captain of the club. Going on to coaches, and it is good news for Crystal Palace. Good news is that Roy Hodgson confirmed that he will be coaching Crystal Palace for yet another season. He's already 75 years old. He's coached England. He's coached about 5-6 different clubs in the English Premier League, also in Europe. Very experienced, and it is Roy Hodgson that confirmed that he will be at Crystal Palace for the 2023-2024 season. And closing today's international sports news, it is Formula One racing news. It is this coming Sunday. It's again Formula One racing that's on the table. It is the Austrian Grand Prix. That's the home of Red Bull Honda. Not good news for all the other competitors, as it is Max Verstappen dominating at the moment. He's leading the points table on 195 points, a comfortable lead over his teammate also in a Red Bull Honda, that is Sergio Perez, on 126 points. The story of the season so far is Fernando Alonso. He's on 117 points, and he's racing in an Aston Martin. That's a surprise in the story of the season because they were 7th last year in the championship, and now they're running 3rd at the moment, also in the Constructors' Championship. It's team principal Mike Crack that said they're building on the design advances they made for 2023, and that's been making the big difference for them. In the Constructors' Championship at the moment, Red Bull leads by 321 points. Second is Mercedes-Benz on 167, and then it's Aston Martin in 3rd position on 154, mainly because of Fernando Alonso's success. It's Lance Stroll that's currently 8th in the individual list on 37 points. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk again international sport tomorrow. Goodbye.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Talk.
Dit is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik gaan byt.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's head into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Kenya launches digital register of sex offenders. Stability assured, but still lack of basic services and food for the population in Mozambique, according to a minister. UK estimates cost of deporting each asylum seeker to Rwanda will be £169,000. And Mozambique set to abolish more rail borders.
Those have been our stories. We thank you very much for watching Africa Good Morning on this beautiful Wednesday morning. We do remind you that we welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. We also encourage you to watch our show on DSTV channel 285 as well as GoTV channel 25 in Namibia, and visit our website, which is called One Up 2. On that note, it's all our love, all our light. Happy Wednesday.